Let's talk about Jaxson Dart to the New Orleans Saints. Ladies and gentlemen, about, week and a half ago, Mel Kiper came out and said that Jaxson Dart was going to go 9th overall to the New Orleans Saints. We talked about it. And since then, we've continued to hear rumblings of, is Jaxson Dart a perfect fit for the Saints? And so we've kind of gone through different prospects, and I want to take a look at Jaxson Dart. I want to give you a true look at how good I think he is, if I think he has any potential, who I think his comps are, who he reminds me of, and what we would be getting if the Saints did draft him 9th overall. Now, Nick Underhill on one of his shows mentioned that this isn't happening. He said, it's not taking place, not an option. Saints aren't taking Jaxson Dart at 9. Now, a lot can happen between a week ago, which would have been the middle of March, and the time the draft rolls around, right? So let's take a look. And this video behind us is Mel kind of explaining the shocking decision to have Jaxson Dart at 9th overall.
In this mock that was going to set the internet on fire. And this was that pick. With the 9th pick in the 2025 Mel Mock 3.0, the New Orleans Saints select Jaxson Dart, quarterback, Ole Miss. Mel, talk to me.
People say, why Jaxson Dart? I say, why not? Okay, why not?
Now, I believe in Mel's draft, when that took place, I think Shedeur was going to the Giants. Since then, Russell Wilson signed with the Giants, Jameis Winston. So the kind of renovation to this would be, well, what if Shedeur Sanders is there? If Shedeur Sanders and Jaxson Dart are there, I would think the Saints go Shedeur Sanders. So that's one reason why I could kind of flip this up on its head. The second reason is that I think Jaxson Dart is a good prospect. I think he's fine. I just think 9th overall is kind of crazy, especially for a team like the Saints who have a lot of stuff that they need. It's a deep draft where you can get a lot of that, and I don't know if Dart stands out enough to be a top 10 pick. Now, this is the NFL draft, and quarterbacks do get, people do reach on quarterbacks. People do take quarterbacks a little higher than some may have them, like Bo Nix. Bo Nix, I'll give it away now. So I was looking at some comps of Jaxson Dart, and I heard a lot of like Gardner Minshew, Drew Lock. I've heard some Josh Allen, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't think he's like Josh Allen at all. And I started digging into it, and I said, you know who Jaxson Dart kind of reminds me of? He reminds me of Bo Nix. And so I went and looked at it, and I kind of went and looked at like their player profile and stuff, and this is just one website. Not every website is the same. No website is better than the other one, but this is just a website, right? So this is Bo Nix. Bo Nix, 6'2", 214. If we go down here to some of his measurables, 4.75 40, whatever. Defense release speed 91%, short passing 85%, medium passing 93%, long passing 96%, rush scramble 76%. We look at Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart, 6'2", okay, 40, 4.85. Then we look at the numbers. Compare them. Release speed, 91% to 84%. Short passing, 85 to 84. Medium passing, 93 to 93. Long passing, 96 to 94. Rush scramble, 76 to 78. So he is very much like a Bo Nix. He is very much like he's not elite at anything. He doesn't have the best arm. He has a live arm. Like, his arm's okay, just like Bo Nix. He can make the throws. He's not going to be a guy like Josh Allen who can push the ball downfield, who's got a ton of velocity downfield. Deep throws, he can kind of loft it out there. But his arm is not like an elite level arm, okay? Physically, 6'2", 220, okay, right? You're not undersized, but you're not a prototypical quarterback. You're not a 6'5", 6'6" quarterback. Speed, 4.8, 4.75, okay. You're athletic enough. You can move enough, but you're not an elite level runner. So that's what Jaxson Dart is. And that's what Bo Nix is. Now, Bo Nix was, at the time of the draft, people did not believe Bo Nix was a first-round quarterback. And Sean Payton takes him. Bo Nix has a decent rookie year. And a lot of people say, okay, the Broncos had their franchise quarterback. So, on one hand, I don't think Bo Nix is great. And I don't think Bo Nix is a great prospect. And even after seeing him in a successful rookie season, I don't know if he's great. So if I'm comparing Jaxson Dart to him, my thought is, well, would I want the Saints to have Bo Nix? Wouldn't hate it. Do you waste a 9th pick on it? That's the question. My boy Cleve TA. All right, Cleve TA, big time guy in the gambling world. He shared this. This is talking about Jaxson Dart. He's got a good arm, not a great arm. Heaves it deep. Can't really drive stuff. Quick passing game. He's good. Reminded me of a mini Drew Lock or Gardner Minshew. One of those wildish throwing dudes that do enough to entice you, but ultimately aren't that great. Somebody will take him second round. He might be the best athlete of all these guys. Cam is a better functional quarterback, Cam Ward. But if they just jumped and ran, he'd have the best workout numbers. In 2023, he led the Rebels to their first 11-win season. He probably is third best in Mississippi, but in the last 5 minutes of the Florida game, he threw 3 interceptions with their season on the line, said a third scout. So I think that's a bit of fabrication. He's a good athlete, not a great athlete, and then it continues. Okay, so that's another thought there. If we look at the PFF draft scouting report, Jaxson Dart, a true distributor. He constantly got the ball where it was designed to go in Ole Miss's offense. While Dart brings really good qualities and shows flashes in certain areas, he's without a defining characteristic to be an elite prospect. Okay, let's see here. PFF's grades. Okay, there you go. Background: Dart, 21-year-old, 6'2", 225-pound quarterback. We all know all that. So he's a distributor, someone who's accurate, plays on time, is constantly in rhythm. That's how Dart plays. At Ole Miss, he did a great job of constantly getting the ball where it was designed to go, depending on the coverage. He was decisive with where to throw, when he could quickly identify the coverage. He knew where that coverage was weak and how to exploit it. That didn't really change when pockets were congested, and it's why his under pressure grade was one of the highest in the nation. He was able to stand and deliver in those tight pockets because he knew where the ball was supposed to go. Not a one-speed thrower. Dart also did a fantastic job of understanding what each throw needed in terms of velocity, touch, and placement. Many quarterbacks are one-speed throwers, meaning every pass is typically thrown at maximum velocity. Dart knows that this is a thorough way of saying he's got some finesse to him. On throws with a targeted depth between 5 and 25, intermediate, Dart had the highest accuracy percentage and the 4th lowest uncatchable accuracy rate in the FBS. Not all those throws need to be thrown with velocity, and he understood how to place balls in certain spots to help his receivers. Again, that reminded me a lot of Bo Nix. A lot of that decisive, quick, intermediate to short route kind of guy. Weaknesses: struggles after the first look. Touched on how good Dart is at distributing the ball when he can quickly identify the coverage. Changes when the defense presents something unique or his first look isn't open. PFF charts a quarterback's initial throw and how often he switches to his next read. It's an inexact science, blah, blah, blah. When Dart threw to his initial read, so first read, get it out of your hands. Easiest thing a quarterback can do, right? His 92.9 PFF passing grade was the second highest in FBS. When he was forced to get off of that read and flip to the other side of the field, it drops to 60.3, ranking 63rd in the FBS. Okay, so this is important. Now, he's working in Lane Kiffin's system and, whatever, but the ability to read the field and the ability to get through your progressions is super important in the NFL. It is not just 7-on-7. It is not just sit in the shotgun, take the snap, sling it to your first read, let it rip, and keep moving down the field, right? A lot of the times in the NFL, you are progressing through your reads on every throw. You are progressing to your second, third, fourth, check down, whatever. The Rebels don't typically run passing concepts that ask quarterbacks to read through the full field, instead focusing on one side of the field. This is what we were just talking about. That showed when Dart was forced off of his initial read, and it's something he'll have to improve on drastically in the NFL. No elite traits. We touched on this as well. When looking at prospects, scouts try to find elite traits. Does a quarterback have elite arm talent and playmaking ability, or is he an elite processor who is constantly one step ahead of the defense? The elite quarterbacks in today's NFL all have at least one elite trait they can bank on. So we talked about this in the Quinn Ewers video. When you're looking at a prospect, and when I'm looking at a prospect, I need to see something that can translate to the NFL to propel them into like that next stratosphere. You look at someone like Josh Allen at Wyoming. Yes, he's raw, but you see him running around. You see his physical attributes. You see his arm strength. You're like, man, okay, if we can corral this, there's something there. You look at Lamar Jackson. You watch him in college. Obviously, his ability to run the football. It's like, okay, if we can get that going in the pros, he's elite at that. All right. So, but then you have players like Brock Purdy, who it's like, well, he's not really good at anything. He's not, he can make, like, I don't consider short to intermediate throws really, every quarterback should be able to do that. So saying you're elite at 5 to 15 yard routes, I mean, if you're an NFL starting quarterback, you should be elite at that. Okay. So you look at some of those guys, Jake Haener, good example of it. Like I said, Brock Purdy, where they can operate in that system and in that world, but there's nothing that they have that can translate and can push them to an elite status. Okay, so when I'm drafting somebody, I'm really hesitant to draft somebody who I don't see that elite trait, whatever it may be. Let's get back to the report. He can make some plays as a scrambler, but he's not an elite athlete. He's a good athlete who can live outside the pocket, making plays. He's shown flashes with his processing speed, but due to Ole Miss's offense, there's an unknown with how quickly he can process an NFL offense that will require him to work through the full field. Some quarterbacks can succeed in the NFL as competent stars without an elite trait, but to be among the best, you have to have that one reliable aspect. Yeah. So, and then the summary, Dart isn't elite, when it makes it hard to project him as a top-tier quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Draft grade, second or third round. So I agree with most of this. So that's kind of the overall, I'm just giving you all bits and pieces. That's kind of how I see Dart, where at the ceiling, you're hoping he gets off to a start like Bo Nix, where he gets comfortable in a system. Now, Bo Nix is probably a better processor. Bo Nix played a lot more football. Bo Nix was one of the most experienced prospects you'll ever have. So maybe that comes with that experience, but best case scenario, Dart hits the ground about where Bo Nix hit the ground.
Because he has the skill set. He's 6'3", 220 plus. 6'2", 220 plus. He can run. He's an aggressive runner. He's an athletic, fast runner. With his legs, he was outstanding. 1,500 rushing yards the last 3 years, 11 rushing touchdowns. The completion percentage kept climbing to nearly 70% this past year with 29 touchdowns and only 6 picks. Only threw 5 picks the year prior to that. He improved from 11 when he was a young quarterback there.
And that's the context that we now have, where Mel says, well, his completion percentage climbed to 70%. Well, we know that's almost entirely on his first read.
So everything's pointing in the right direction. He's a competitive kid. He wants to be great. He has all the skills you want. He made a throw rolling left this year, was remarkable. Against his body, 25, 30 yards down the field, on a rope. You thought about Danny Dimes. Jaxson throws darts, and he can do that. And he doesn't have the howitzer, and he's got to learn to layer the ball. Young quarterbacks have to learn to layer the ball, okay? Not be as flat with the throws. He'll get that. They have a quarterback, Carr, that's been there, right? Veteran. That's the bridge. That's the guy who's going to get you to Dart. Dart may take a little time. RPOs, you're on RPOs in the NFL. We don't get Mahomes. So for me, Jaxson Dart, yeah, he's 18 on my board. Is it a little high for me? But he's solidly QB3. He's been QB3 pretty much all year for me. If you're a new head coach and you're Kellen Moore, former quarterback, right? And you can handpick your guy. And we're even saying, could Dart go ahead of Shedeur? Is Dart rated ahead of Shedeur by some? You got to look at Jaxson Dart at 9. I had the same people saying it's a little too high for Dart. They were saying it's a little too high for Bo Nix. And I got off of it in Mach 4.0, and I am not. I have written that, hey, I might be wrong. You can be wrong on anything you say. Like people say, I could be wrong. No kidding, you could be wrong, you idiot. Anybody could be wrong.
Mel's fired up.
Jaxson Dart at 9.
Respect.
Jaxson Dart at 9 is not changing on Mach 4.0 unless something happens crazy. He is going to be stuck at New Orleans. And when that picks up, Greeny, you're going to look at me and say, let's see if Dart's the pick. And
a problem with what Mel's saying is like reach. He's basically saying reach on the quarterback and let him sit. Well, the thing with the Saints is that they have so many holes. It's one thing to reach on a quarterback at 14, 15, 16, whatever. It's another thing to reach at 9 when you have potentially Ashton Genty sitting there, potentially Tyler Warren, potentially Mason Graham, potentially Matthew Golden or Ted McMillan or Jihad Campbell or Jalen Walker or players like that. When that level of player is available, do you reach or do you say, well, we have Derek Carr. Let's take a highly rated player in any of those players I just named, and then we'll figure out this quarterback thing moving forward. We'll figure it out next year or the year after or whatever. Like this, it makes sense for a team to take Jaxson Dart in that mid-20s, early 20s, where the level of the draft pool is not as high. If you're looking at taking the third or fourth offensive lineman or a safety or the third cornerback or whatever, or getting your quarterback, yeah, okay, reach, sure. But because of how deep this draft is and because of where the Saints are sitting, I think this reach is just the wrong time. I think it's too much of that round peg in a square hole.
It'll be a lot of fun to see if he is, because if Kellen Moore loves him, take him.
All right, so some of the disagreement that Mel is referring to came from @Terrence Taplin, who tweets, the Saints drafted a talented young quarterback last year. He's talking about Spencer Rattler. Yep. Plus, they restructured Carr's contract to fit this year. So no way, he believes, the Saints draft a QB in round 1. They'll get T-Mac or an edge. Field, what do you...
Something else with Bo Nix you have to remember is that Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback taken in the draft. So it's not like, it's crazy to think about, but I believe he went 14. Spencer Rattler was the 7th quarterback taken in the 5th round. So there was 1 spot of difference in the quarterback pecking order, but 5 rounds of difference, or 4 rounds of difference between Spencer Rattler and Bo Nix. So, like, even thinking about that, it's like, man, the Broncos waited for 5 quarterbacks to go before Bo Nix, and now we're talking about, if you take Jaxson Dart at 9, you could be potentially taking him as the 2nd quarterback in the draft if Shedeur is still there. But regardless, you're taking him in the top 10. Ugh.
What do you think?
All right, so Terrence, I'm not as convinced that they're going to take Jaxson Dart number 9th overall as Mel is. But by the way, I'm already planning this. You know, in NBA locker rooms after a regular season win, when someone accomplishes something notable, they spray them with water bottles. We save the champagne for the playoffs. I'm storming the set and spraying Mel with a water bottle if they go Jaxson Dart at number 9 overall. That being said, I don't think the quarterback investment on this roster, Derek Carr going into his final season with New Orleans, and Spencer Rattler, a 5th-round pick last year, who had some moments last year, but certainly not enough for me to feel like this guy has an unequivocal chance to start going forward. Neither of those things are factors into why New Orleans should not or will not take a quarterback at number 9 overall.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Like the Spencer Rattler thing, as a fan, who we watched every snap of Spencer Rattler, we covered every interview with Spencer Rattler. The harsh reality of the NFL and the harsh reality of new coaching staffs and new philosophies and new schemes and all of that is that you kind of get lost in that shuffle. We've seen it happen to first-round picks. We've seen it happen to top 10 picks. We just saw it happen to Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields, he was drafted by a different front office, different coaching staff. All of a sudden, boom, the new coaching staff with the Bears aren't really interested. They're not really interested. It's not their investment. It's not their capital. It's not their problem. It's not their responsibility. So I don't think Spencer Rattler is factoring in at all with Kellen Moore's decision if Kellen Moore likes Jaxson Dart or Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. That's just, unfortunately, the reality of it. And, I feel bad for Spencer Rattler because I do think he did some good things, but, even as a Spencer Rattler stan, it's like, I don't think he did enough. If I'm the coach, I don't think he did enough for me to say, nah, man, we're good at quarterback moving forward.
I think you have to either commit to it or be prepared to lose the player because you're not getting him in the 2nd round. You simply aren't getting Jaxson Dart with the Saints' 2nd round.
Yeah, I agree.
The calculation, Mel and I talked about this yesterday, and Adam Schefter brought up how the Broncos consider doing a similar thing to this, which is maybe a perfect world is this, Greeny. You move from 9 to 15. You get some extra draft capital, and then you take Jaxson Dart at 15. Mel's counter, I already know what it is fair, but it's a little rich for me. I've also accepted the quarterback tax is real, and Mel getting Jaxson Dart up to number 18 on the big board did capture my attention as well, Mel. I'm interested in this part of the equation.
So trading back, I never ever factor in trading back. And I don't think people should do it in their mock drafts because it's hard enough to figure out what one team is thinking or figure out that one pick. But to simulate a trade and then, you have to figure out how that affects the dominoes and the butterfly effect and all that stuff. I think it's disingenuous when people do factor in trades. I see a lot of people send me their PFF mock drafts, and it's like, look at this mock draft. How sweet is this? And they have the Saints having the 17th overall pick, the 26th overall pick, the 34th overall pick, the 40th overall pick. And it's like, yeah, that is sweet. If you trade down 3 times in the first round to get, all of a sudden you have 15 picks in the top 75, like, yeah, that's awesome. But that is absolutely not going to happen. So I don't factor in trading down at all whatsoever. In a perfect world, yeah, I would trade down every time. In a perfect world, if the Saints are sitting at 9, the best thing they could do for the franchise is trade down from 9 to 12, and then from 12 to 16, then from 16 to 21, then from 21 to 24, and draft a player and enjoy 3 packages of draft capital. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So yes, trading down is always the move, but it takes 2 to tango. It's very difficult to do. So I just don't factor it in whatsoever when I'm looking at a draft.
Yeah, let me just say this, too. Just to tag what you were saying about this whole quarterback thing. I didn't know this till yesterday. And the amazing Laura Rutledge, okay? The great Laura Rutledge was doing NFL Live with us, right, yesterday. And I didn't know this when I did it. Okay, I didn't factor this in at all. And Laura spoke about it and had it up on the graphic. Ooh. The last time New Orleans took a quarterback was
Archie Manning, yeah.
1971. It was Archie Manning out of Ole Miss. And I said, wow, Ole Miss, that's Jaxson Dart, right? All right, so you go 1971 to 2025. Saints haven't taken a quarterback, and they go back to Ole Miss, and they get Jaxson Dart. So thanks, Laura. You made me a little exclamation point. Now, hey, I might be sitting there, and there may be no champagne coming my way, except Bruni looking at me. Okay, where's Jaxson Dart go now? He's not going to the Saints. They took somebody else, okay? We'll see how that goes. But maybe the Rams will be happy, because the Rams are sitting there. I think that would be – I almost gave him to the Rams, but I bumped them up to the Saints. So Jaxson Dart, hey, I will say this, Greeny, he's a lock first rounder. I'll say that right now.
I agree with that. I think just because of the quarterback tax, I don't think there's any way the Steelers don't take a quarterback at 21. So if you're thinking Cam Ward goes 1, Shedeur goes either 3, 7, 9, 14 maybe, or does Shedeur go to the Steelers? And then if he goes to the Steelers, I think right around there, teams like the Rams, teams that the Rams are a great team for Jaxson Dart because the Rams don't have the holes that the Saints do. The Rams aren't sitting there trying to fill every position. They need impact players now and whatever. The Rams can't afford to develop a guy. The Rams can't afford, hey, let's let him sit behind Stafford. Stafford's already talking about trade talks. We don't know what's going on with him. Is he going to retire? He's certainly towards the end of whatever's going on. So if we let Dart sit behind Stafford, we already have a pretty decent team here. The Rams make a lot of sense for Jaxson Dart. They're a perfect landing spot for him. Not so much the Saints. The Saints need young contracts, impact players, quantity. Every draft pick needs to hit. They don't have the time to waste a top 10 pick or the luxury to waste a top 10 pick on a developmental quarterback, which is what Jaxson Dart is. He's a developmental sit, needs to get the experience, needs to get better. I think Jaxson Dart is better of a prospect than someone like Kenny Pickett. I don't know if he's the prospect Bo Nix was. So he's somewhere in that world. He's somewhere in the world of, when I'm looking at Jaxson Dart, I'm throwing all these guys in the same bucket. It's Bo Nix, it's Daniel Jones, it's Gardner Minshew, it's Drew Lock. It's that kind of world. Okay, they're all okay. They're all kind of unproven. They're not elite. In the right system, maybe they can do the job, and then we see how some of it works, and then some of it doesn't work for others. So he's somewhere in there. But I don't think any of that equals the 9th overall pick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jaxson Dart. It is a lot of draft coverage between now and the draft. We are going to be live streaming the night 1 of the draft, just like we did last year. We'll probably do some giveaways or something, so stay tuned for that. It'll be a fun time. But let me know what you think. Is Jaxson Dart worth a look, or is it a little too rich for your blood? Let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.